We did it. We won the St. John's River Tournament. This is the Bass Elite Tools right here for this one particular tournament. I'm going to tell you all of the details. I've had 3 major techniques that I used to win that tournament. It was really an amazing, awesome week. A lot of crazy things happen when you kind of look back on it. You're like, man, if this one thing didn't happen, if that one thing didn't happen. But that's what happens when you win tournaments and you get these big giant blue trophies like this Bassmaster Elite Series win right here. But a lot of people saw on the final day, I was catching most of my fish on a chatterbait. I will kind of walk you through the whole tournament. Practice was very mixed. First day was terrible. Second day was pretty good. Third day was not very good, but I eliminated some stuff and I found some small fish that really helped me win the tournament, believe it or not. So just kind of walk you through everything. Day one, I broke out the old Cashin Icon John Cruz drop shot rod. That is what I caught over 26 pounds on day one. I was fishing up in Rodman Reservoir, catching deeper fish, 12 to say 25 feet of water. They were relating to the creek channel on very specific type of cover. If I could find that with my live scope, I could look and I could see those fish sitting down there. I mean, Rodman's got a ton of fish in it. Let me just say that. And I don't mean just bass. It's got a ton of tilapia, a ton of crappie, a ton of big bluegill, and of course it's got the big bass. So being able to find the bass relating to the cover was really the trick. The deeper spots were where those fish were when it got cold earlier in the week. First day was still pretty cold, and by golly, those big ones were still in those deeper areas. And I was throwing that drop shot. Here is the actual rig. I'm going to show you and kind of explain this to you. It was a drop shot. Had a 1/4 ounce tungsten weight because I was fishing through a lot of cover, so I was only using a 1/4 ounce. That's fairly light for how deep that was, and so but the worm, I had a Gamakatsu G Finesse hook on there, a 2/0, and then that is a color called John's Juice. That is actually a Robo Fat 6-inch, but that is a color sample for something you're going to see in the very future. That's a complete and total tease. That's all I'm telling you. That is a color sample for something you're going to see in the near future. So stay tuned for more on that. But that particular color, I tried a handful of different colors. I could catch them on a couple. That definitely seemed to be a color that got bit. Water was real clear in Rodman. I was using 10-pound FC Sniper as my leader. I never had any issues. I mean, over 26 pounds on that line, I think says a lot about the durability and the strength on that FC Sniper. I had that about a 20 to 22 foot leader, and then I had the X Plasma 12-pound braid, and you can see it's real bright colored. You can see it on the reel itself. This is a Daiwa Ballistic LT 2500. I really like that reel. That is a really, really nice reel. It's real smooth drag, and that was my setup for that drop shot. Well, coming back that afternoon, I ended up catching one about 4.5 pounds that called out a 3-pounder that gave me 28 pounds even on that first day. Took the day one lead. That 1/2 ounce, that jackhammer was the chatterbait that I was using. This is it right here, the black and blue 1/2 ounce full-size D-bomb. You can see I shaved a little bit of the ribs on that one particular side just to keep that big gap in it with that Gamakatsu hook. That was the one, whenever it was sunny, that's what I went to. That darker, big profile, man, it brought on that big bite that I needed to call out that 3-pounder. That sounds even crazy saying calling a 3-pounder. Called out that 3-pounder with another 4.5 pounder. So I had 4 fish between 4.5 and 5.5, and then I had an 8-1 that I caught on that drop shot day one. Gave me 28 pounds even. Pretty amazing. on that chatterbait, I had that 20-pound FC Sniper. That is kind of my go-to for what I call power fishing, a jackhammer, 20-pound Sunline Sniper. And then I had that on the Cashin Icon chatterbait rod. It's 7 foot 1 inch. And look at that. I blew it up the last day, right at the end of the day. But that's a Daiwa Elite 7-to-1 with that line on there. This is a different chatterbait that I was fishing at a different event. That was from the Harris chain. I didn't catch squat on it, but that's what I blew it up at the end of the day. But yeah, that was that's the rod and the setup that I used at the St. John's day 1. Day 2, I went and no fish early. The day 2, I went on up to Rodman. I ended up squeaking out a limit that maybe weighed 11 pounds, but I had one that was over 4. So I felt decent about that. And then in the afternoon, we got a little cloud cover, got a little bit of wind, and I went back to the old chatter wagon and put another fish in the boat, like a 4. Put another one close to 5. I called out a couple of smaller ones, ended up with 17-1. After 2 days at the St. John's, I had a 10-pound lead. That is just unheard of. I had a 10-pound lead. I couldn't even sleep that night. And I don't know, I my mind was just racing on how I was going to catch them. It was really, really cool. Awkward and weird at the time, but I just knew something special was going down. So day 3, conditions were changing. It was warming up, getting sunnier. I figured those fish were going to be getting out of that channel, coming back, and I went up there to Rodman and fished that deeper water, and I never had a bite. I could only see a very few fish, but I never had a bite. I did catch some fish on a jerkbait days 1 and 2, but really it was not a factor. None of the real fish I weighed days 1 and 2 were on that. So I had one small fish that I caught early in the morning, and I said, man, on day 3, I said, I got to make a change. I said, man, I'm going to go over to some areas and fish a Zoom fluke, and I think I can catch some small fish and at least fill out a limit, maybe catch 7 or 8 pounds, something like that, and at least salvage the day and maybe, get lucky and get a big one. Well, sure enough, I pulled up to that area, and there was a big clump of pads. I picked up the old Missile Baits quiver. That's it right there. Missile Baits quiver, 1/4 ounce weight, 20-pound Sunline shooter. That's my line right there, 20-pound Sunline shooter. That's what I always flip with. People ask about the difference between shooter and sniper. Shooter is your flipping line, a little more durable, a touch bigger diameter, more like a Trilene XT kind of a line. The sniper is more like an XL, a little better pliability, tiny bit smaller, more for casting, cranking, things like that. But had a 3/0 offset shake round bit worm hook on it, and a Gamakatsu, Cashin 7.6 Icon flipping stick, just a joy to fish with. High speed Daiwa Tatula 100. Flipped that bad boy over there. I lifted up, and that thing was just booking it on out to the deep water. I set the hook, 6-pounder. I knew that was a bag maker, man. That was a big deal. I picked up a Zoom fluke and went to the bank and fished, like 1 to 3 feet of water, maybe 1 to 2 feet of water, really. Ended up catching a limit, nothing big. I had 1 2-pounder. I don't even have the fluke out to show you, but it definitely helped. Caught some fish that day on that Zoom fluke. I had 14-pound shooter with a Spro power swivel about 12 inches above it. Had a 5/0 Gamakatsu round bend worm hook on there. That's kind of my setup. I fished that on a 7-foot Cashin Icon heavy action bait caster with the high-speed Daiwa Tatula reel on there. So I filled out my limit, had 13 pounds. I kept my lead, but it was only about 3 pounds over Mr. John Cox, who caught a giant bag on day 3. So going into the last day, I was hoping that John Cox had kind of, used up all of his luck and all of his big fish to catch that 30-some pound stringer. I think it was 31. But so then that last day, I went back to the chatterbait because we had overcast conditions in the morning. We had We had a little bit of wind, overcast, a little rain. I went and I changed up to a white 3/8 chatterbait, and I had actually a Fishalicious. I think I'm out of them. A Fishalicious. I'm going to restock here in a few minutes, but I had a Fishalicious Shockwave 3.5. Ended up catching a couple actually on the white one as well, but that was the go-to on the final day. Put 4 fish in the boat. I went to go up to Rodman to check out some other stuff, try to figure a bite out up there, and I ended up getting one almost 5 before I locked through. So that gave me, 15, 16 pounds. I knew that was going to be pretty good. I figured I needed to cull once or twice. I ran around Rodman. I tried the deep bite. I tried the shallow bite. I could not get comfortable up there. I went running back to the lock, and I picked up, we had some wind and rain, a little like a rain squall come through. I picked up a spinnerbait, caught one about 2 3/4, called out a small one. Then I picked up and threw and hooked and lost a big one on the spinnerbait. Crazy. And it didn't affect me because I still won by a pound or two. Still won. So all of this is still just fresh in my brain, because when they hand you one of these things, or actually when you go snag it right off the pedestal that it's sitting on, everything's kind of a blur and it just all blends together. But that's the tools of the trade. If you have any questions, drop down in the comments. Let me know any questions that you have, anything that you saw. What I told you already is what I'm going to tell you about the new project that we're working on, and we're going to come out with something very soon. Not before the Classic or at the Classic. It will be after the Classic, probably in the May time frame is what I'm hoping for on that new plastic situation. So that is what we're looking at on all that. But let me know. Hit me up with the comments. If you're not subscribed or following or whatever, please do that as well, so you can get all the goods on all the future tournaments, and stay tuned for the vlog of the whole tournament. You can see all the fish catches, see all the action. That's going to take a little while to edit, so give us a little time on that. But I appreciate everybody watching, and I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that sent me messages, or like people at Missile Baits. They were waiting for me when I finally got home late last night, actually. Just amazing support, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that has supported me over the years and continues to do so. But thank you very much.